Deflame.com provides supplements made by Anabolic Laboratories, and this video will explain why. This picture actually is from the laboratory at Anabolic, and you can see underneath the name, you can see the statement that they are pharmaceutical-made nutritional products. Very important to differentiate pharmaceutical made versus pharmaceutical grade. And here's what I mean by that. Pharmaceutical grade does not mean that the substance has been assayed for purity and potency. Here we have oatmeal. We can take a coffee grinder or a grain grinder and grind up the oatmeal, and lo and behold, we now have pharmaceutical grade oatmeal. So pharmaceutical grade simply means that the substance can be put into a pill-making machine, and whole oats could not be put into the machine. They have to be ground down so that they are the proper grade, i.e. pharmaceutical grade, and now they can move through a pill-making machine. So you could get oatmeal supplements if you wanted to. That would be kind of weird, but it's possible. The point is, you can see pharmaceutical grade is very different than pharmaceutical made. I should say pharmaceutical grade is very different from pharmaceutical made, as you will see shortly. So the question for this picture is, we have a white powder here, and is this codeine, or is it zinc, or is it calcium, or something else? And you cannot tell just by looking at it. So nutritional manufacturers often take the supplier's word for it when they receive new raw materials. So the proper manufacturing process requires that the raw materials, even if it is said to be calcium or zinc or any other nutrient you can think of, it needs to be identified to be part of a properly pharmaceutical made process. And that's what takes place in manufacturing facilities such as the one that Anabolic has. So sometimes if you're making nutritional products properly, you end up throwing entire batches away. For example, in 2007, Anabolic destroyed 500,000 tablets of a chewable multi for children because the level of folic acid was inconsistent and below the required 400 microgram amount. Companies that do not check nutrient levels before, during, and after production will not know if nutrient levels are consistent and meet the level stated on the bottle. And the odd thing about this particular batch was the amount that would have been required to put 400 micrograms in the tablets were appropriate, but they simply could not get it into the tablets for some odd, strange reason, so they had to all be destroyed. That is a sign of a superior manufacturer. Now, raw materials are also regularly returned when you're working with a superior manufacturer. Now, why is this? Well, an example, in 1996, Anabolic received a shipment of CoQ10. It turned out that it was actually not CoQ10, but an odd riboflavin and folic acid combination. And unless the manufacturing company is using all the tools required to identify the raw materials, this would never have been picked up. Then in January of 2010, Hoodia was rejected despite a C of A, certificate of analysis from the supplier. And the reason it was rejected, get this, there was no Hoodia in the Hoodia. Pretty amazing. So we're going to go through the sequencing of proper manufacturing. We begin with, again, we have this raw material and you don't know what it is. So the first step is to quarantine the raw material, because it goes into a quarantine room, and that means it cannot be put into circulation until it has been properly identified and certified to be safe, free of microbes, and to be the substance it's supposed to be. So what happens then? Well, raw material, as I said, is held in quarantine until it goes through the process where they are identified. And we first have to identify and make sure, for example, if this was CoQ10 and it was white, CoQ10 is not white, it's an orangey yellow kind of color. So we would know automatically from identification that this would not be, the white powder would not be CoQ10. Then it has to go through microbial testing. After that, it goes through a series of tests to make sure that the raw material is what it is supposed to be. And you can stop the video if you wish and just read the names of these things, but these are very expensive and they are all required to pharmaceutically make nutritional supplements. So if the raw materials meet the quality control specifications, they are then released to make supplements. So off they will go. And this is where you can see the manufacturing area. And on the right image there, this is called a V blender. And the V blender, that particular one is massive. It's like the size of a Mini Cooper practically. That's a 6-foot guy. That's either me or the guy I was in the plant with. And you can fit enough powder that would fit into a Mini Cooper into this V blender, and it must get blended up, blended, blended, blended. And the idea is to make sure that, for example, very small amounts of, say, selenium, molybdenum that would go into a multi that would fit into the palm of your hand, go into that massive V blender, and it must get blended properly so there's uniform distribution. So the distribution of nutrients in that blender is actually found in small little pills the size of the tip of your pinky. It's real science to properly make products. And so after they are blended, they are then put into pill-making machines, either encapsulators or tableters, and they are manufactured in quality control rooms. And what happens here, you can see the doors. Well, what happens is there is an airflow that flows from within the room into the hallway. And in the hallway, air is sucked out and run through HEPA filters so that only fresh HEPA filtered air is pumped into the manufacturing rooms, and the airflow is outward only so that no non-required supplemental substances can enter a manufacturing room. And during the process of manufacturing tablets, you can see here they are being tested, in this case for weight, hardness, and friability or durability. This means that when you put a bottle in, a tablet into a bottle, it's not going to fracture and crack and end up being powder once it arrives. But it can't be too hard, because if it's too hard, then what will happen is you will not digest it and it will end up in the toilet, or it will, you could see it on an x-ray. Many times in the old days, not so much recently, but it still does happen where you'll see pills traveling through the intestines with it during x-ray. So now after the manufacturing process is over, then it is time to do simulated digestion of the manufactured product. So first we test for potency to make sure that what is in the pill is consistent with what will be on the label. As I described earlier, an entire batch of 500,000 tablets had to be destroyed because it did not qualify. After potency is identified, there is a disintegration test, and that will be on the left side, and this mimics the digestive process. And the idea is, during a specified period of time, the pill is supposed to completely disintegrate into powder. And then if one has a time-release product, they go through what's called dissolution testing, and those on the right side, you can see those are dissolution tanks. And these are for time-release nutrient products. And then, only then will products be bottled if it passes the test to this point. And then once the bottled products are made, they're then put in what are called stability chambers. And stability chambers, their function is to make sure that shelf life of each product will meet label claim. Now it's called a best buy price. So after the bottled products are taken out of the stability chambers, they then go through to make sure that the label claim will be met. And they check again for microbial growth to make sure that there is no microbes. This is a very, very complex process, as you can see. And so they identify again microbial growth and potency after coming out of the stability chambers. And this is the process. It's very, very detailed, extremely expensive to do this, to ensure that what is on the label is in the pill. And this is the sequencing that all anabolic products go through. If you want to read more about this, below this video in the nutritional supplement section at the deflame.com website, where you may be watching this right now, you can click on the link for the PDF, and then this PDF will appear, which describes this process so you can read it and listen to the video again if you like.